An important part of any project to start off is the requirements gathering analysis, right? You meet with your client in several interviews, forms, and usually it'll be your responsibility to help them out, decide what it is that they need. There'll be all sorts of conflicting requirements that you're going to bring this out, right? That one part of the organization thinks that this is very very important, and some other part of the organization thinks that that's actually trivial, and it's your responsibility to explain this to them. You're going to review all the data entry, all the forms that folks are filling out, all the error reports, all sorts of interviews and spreadsheets that you're going to send out for folks to fill out, and you're going to give them a requirements documents, right? So here's just a simple example of a university that offers courses and has a bunch of departments, and as you are interviewing these folks, they might ramble on and on and on about things that are irrelevant, right, to what it is that we're building, right? And it's fine. I mean, these folks are they know their business very well, and they might tell you all sorts of anecdotes. It's your responsibility to sift through this and say, well, this is relevant and this is not relevant. This is what we're building, and this is what not we're building, right? This is the domain. Here's the whole picture. We're really only building this little thing over here. It's your responsibility to do that. Oftentimes they'll leave out many things that they seem that is trivial, that you then have to fill in yourself, right? They'll leave out facts that folks have first names and last names, right? That's obvious. So it's your responsibility to make sure that things that were left unsaid, right, that they actually make it into the data model, right? Also, many relationships that are not going to be explicit, you're going to need to determine what these relationships are, again, through several iterations of requirements with your clients. Also, there'll be all sorts of questions that they would like to be able to answer from the database, right? This is going to be the beginnings of what these queries might be, all your inserts, all your updates, all your deletes, your select statements, right? What is it? What are the actions that they want to be able to be able to do? This will create a dictionary of all these actions. You probably create some data dictionary where you list all the various entities that you're going to be responsible for and how they're associated, probably through several Excel spreadsheets where you have a long dictionary of all the entities, all their attributes, right? And make sure that we all call it the same thing. Okay, not that certain part of the organizations call it customer, and some other part of the organization calls it client. That we all have the same vocabulary, right? We have the same attributes, and we all agree that this is what we're storing and that we're tracking. The nouns are going to be clues to classes and attributes, whereas the verbs are going to be clues of the associations between them. Oftentimes, these verbs, you might have not just one verb, describing a binary relationship. You might have multiple verbs or verb phrase that specifies relationships with multiple classes, right? And how they relate with one another. So you need to be careful not to oversimplify this, right? We might tend to only focus on the binary relationships and leave out or forget that there's three-way relationships or four-way relationships, right? That we might forget. Database scope is important that we understand the scope. For instance, if we are in a campus scope and we're building the database for the university to keep track of sections and courses and students, one table that might not be present there is a table called universities, right? Because you're not modeling multiple universities. You are modeling the university, right? Instead, if you are the Department of Education, then maybe you do want to keep track of multiple universities. Yes. So depending from where you look at it, right? Depending on your particular domain, you need to say, well, what escapes are my domain and what is my domain, right? Where am I? So for instance, if here in In our assignment, for instance, one of the tables that you might not have there is a university table, because you might have just one record, right? Because it's just one university, right? So that would not be. Also, the level of the level of abstraction, the abstraction layer. You know, how detailed are you capturing the data, right? If this, you know, if again, if you're capturing the concept of a car, you know, what does a car mean to you, right? Maybe within our domain of university, maybe the license plate, a make and model is enough. Maybe the color of the car, right? But and that's it. You know, just 4 fields is enough for us to represent the car. But if you are, you know, a Ford Motor Company, then maybe 4 fields is not enough for you. Maybe you have lots of tables that specify, you know, windshield and seats and bolts and all the way down to, you know, nuts and bolts, right? So again, depending where you are, that modeling, that layer is you know, it's important to identify the granularity. Okay, so here's an example of what a naive class diagram might look like. You know, having parsed the 3 paragraphs that we skipped over, you know, we might come up with something like this, right? We have students, we have receives a grade that a professor assigns, a professor teaches the sections, you know, students are enrolled in sections, looks like a course has many sections, a department has many courses, a section is offered in a particular year, you know, students have permits and so on and so forth. So this might be the first naive version of our class diagram, right? So we're going to criticize this class diagram for a while, right? And we're going to do some small transformations as we go, as we reread our requirements and look at different alternatives of interpreting those requirements, right? What if it said this? What if you read it this other way, right? How would the class diagram change, right? And that's the kind of analysis that we're expecting from you in this assignment, right? Read the what we gave you, you know, come up with a, you know, first preliminary class diagram, you know, try to reread it again and say, well, you know, what if I could have interpreted this other way, or could have represented it in this other fashion. So anyway, so let's address this. Let's analyze these relationships and the class diagram.
Hi everyone, Jose here. Please remember to subscribe and like the video. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. Thank you.